info that you have to do stuff. To those area uses cards. So let's, okay. And you watch me give out stuff all the time, Chris. You get to have a pen as well.
Yes, more pens.
So guys, so somebody's going to go, your pen doesn't work. Put your thumb on the pocket clip, as Chris is demonstrating, and push down. The top is a stylus.
Nice.
Right.
AHL with the goods. All right, cool. So yeah, today was going to be the first part of Command Your Consumer Experience. So it's going to be mostly running through the basics, setting up your website, setting up your consumer app guides, because I'll walk you through the Kelly guides for both of those. And one other thing I always like to show is the marketing profile, because that's going to really auto-populate your information into multiple places. So your website, it's going to auto-populate into your consumer app as well. And then anytime that you're doing any marketing materials, it's always important to have that branded correctly. So I'm going to get started. Again, I am live streaming this, so if you want to come back to this video later on, it's going to be on there. Questions you can ask as we go through as well if you need to. But as you can see, I'm in Command right now. I'm in my dashboard. And the first thing that I want to do is I want to go to my settings menu. So I'm going to go into settings. And under settings, there's going to be a tab here called Connect Settings. And there's only one thing you can fill out there, that's your marketing profile. So when I go into here, it's going to ask a bunch of basic information, like what my name is, my headshot, office that I work with. I can add additional information like my bio, which I copy and pasted. So if you have a bio somewhere, you can just pop it in there. My title. I also added some social links as well, which you can also do. And then there's some additional integrations with Facebook Pixel, Google Analytics. Those are more advanced, but those are things that you can add in if you're interested in more of like the analytics for your website, like demographics and all that stuff. I'll probably be doing more so of a class on Google specifically, because I think there's a lot of different tools in there that we can take advantage of. And then I copied my app link in there, and I'll show you how you can access that as we move along. So once you fill this out, again, it's probably going to take you literally less than 5 minutes. There's a button on the top here you'll see, and it says use my information to brand my agent site. So we can actually just click that on. There's a little green button there now that means that it's turned on. Once you turn that on, any sort of branding that you have on your website or your consumer app is going to go directly into there. So it's really, what was that? I'm under settings, and then I went to connect settings, and it's under marketing profile. So again, yeah, to brand your agent site, you can just click that little button on the right-hand side here, and then we can just leave that checked on, because anytime we make updates, it's just going to auto-populate again. Cool. So I'm going to go back to my dashboard, and I always like to bring up this little red button on the top. So if you're ever curious of where you're at currently, you can use that little red button, and it shows you all the different apps that are currently in Command. So the one we're going to be really working with today is the consumer one, all the way at the bottom. And you might have known this recently as used to be called sites, and then previous to that used to be called landing pages. So I think consumer, that might be the most permanent one right now. And that's where you can access your agent site tools. You can also access some of the settings for your consumer app, and you know, some of your your domain and URL settings. So I'm going to click on consumer. And what I want to do is on the right-hand side, there is a settings button here. It's called Site and App Settings. We're going to click on that. And you'll notice on the top, I'm just going to scroll into URL because the general makes my computer bug out right now. If I go to URLs, just to show you real quickly, this is where I can access my consumer app link, as you can see. There's also a text code there. I haven't really used the text code too much. I usually would just send out the app link directly, which is right here. And when I do the Kelly guide with you, you're going to see what exactly that URL is. It's essentially a landing page that will lead anybody that you send it to a download link for either the Apple version or the Android version. So there's gonna be 2 different versions of the app currently. All right, if you ever need to go and change your domain for your website, you can also do that here. And then if I go to the top, you'll see here it says Learn More with Kelly Guides. That's what I'm gonna be clicking on right now. So I'm gonna click on that. And you see here now it gives me 2 options. Previously it was just the one. It used to say just agent site. Now we have another setting in there for consumer settings. And I think previous to that they called it something else. So the first one I want to actually do, we're going to do the consumer one first because I think that's the newest thing. So let's just go through that first. If I click on consumer settings and we hit continue, it's going to bring me to the Kelly Guide. And you should be familiar with the Kelly Guides. It's essentially a screen like this. It's like a wizard. With the app link or with the app setup, they actually give you, just a few different screens on here. What's going to happen? We're going to set up your KW app. We're going to customize our guides, and then we're going to help you set up a marketing campaign with a smart plan, which is also pretty nice. So I'm going to hit the button that says Get Started. And when I hit that button, the first screen that it takes me to is a education center. So this is new. And this will actually just kind of give you an outline of some guides that you can go through if you ever want to just learn more. So creating a premium app experience, managing your client relationships, sharing your app with clients. So these could be a mixture of videos or different documentation. So if you're ever curious, you can go through that and find those. It's pretty cool. And something that I always bring up when I'm doing classes as well is this KW Connect, the Connect Live videos. And those are live streams that are constantly happening throughout the week. They post the schedules up. And if you happen to miss one, they do post them on demand as well. So it's super useful. Okay, so we're going to click Next. Here we go. And the first screen we're going to come to is this landing page screen. So this is helping me set up my KW app landing page that's branded to me. And on the right-hand side here, you see consumer settings, build a client experience that's up to date on both your consumer app and your agent site. So from here, there's a little button where it says app download. There's like a little arrow there. I'm going to click that. And the first thing it's going to do, it's going to bring out a list of just some basic stuff here. So hero text, and right now I don't know if the hero text auto populates yet, but you can fill out a different thing there. So I just put simple and elegant real estate searching on the go. App URLs are here. And then you have your text code again, so that's already preset. Right now you can't change those URLs. I think I've heard that question before. The URLs are essentially static. You can't change them just yet. However, if you buy a custom domain, let's say you buy a domain for your app link, you can forward that custom domain to the app. So that's also a workaround for that if you choose to do that. Okay, so as you can see, there's not too many things I can do on this screen here, so we can kind of walk past it, but let's just see what the actual landing page looks like. So you can see it's very clean, nice little screen here with the app, and then you have your download buttons here. So when you send this to somebody, they have access to each one. One other thing they can also do is if they prefer to have it texted to them, they can put in their number and it can text it. And has some tablet users. They have some additional settings for those. Nice little rundown of the key features, which is great. And again, we didn't have to put this all together. It's already done for me automatically, which is great. Cool. All right, so let's go to the next screen. I'm going to go onto the right-hand side. There's a button that says Save and Continue. So the next screen here is setting up our guides. So within the consumer app right now, there's 2 guides. There's a buyer guide and there's a seller guide. And you also have a little introduction that you can set up for each one. It's also auto-populated, as you can see. So mine just says, congrats on starting the process of selling your home. This is the timeline required. And you can see here, like, you know, I'll be with you all step of the way. It's like, you don't need to follow this exactly, but we do recommend you consider each step, especially if you're a first-time seller. So this is, again, this is auto-populated. Now, there's 4 different sections here. There's a setup, introduction, guide, and then review and enable guides. So if we go to setup, it's going to allow me to go through each template. So there's a buyer guide template and there's a seller guide template. So let's go into the buyer one first. And I'm going to go down to the bottom here. So next step. And you can see here the first thing, again, it's going to pop up is my intro. So this is the intro for my buyer guide, as you can see. You can change the name if you want. You can say your timeline guide or my client guide, however you want to word it. I'm going to use it the default one right now. Yeah. So as you can see here, the message, it's already predetermined, but I can change that if I want to customize it a little bit. Maybe I can add additional contact information if I need to. You can make it as personal as you want. So I like these a lot because you can essentially change around however you want. I'm going to leave this defaulted, but I did notice it put somebody else's name named Paul. It's not me. I'm going to change that. I'm going to put Chris. I'll put my full name. Looks a little pro. There we go. All right, so I'll provide insights on each step. You don't need to follow again, but we do recommend you consider it if you're a first-time buyer. So the goal of these buyer and seller guides is when you're sending this to your client, they'll have on-demand information about the step of the transaction. So they'll know exactly, okay, we're at a pre-approval. What's the next step? On the agent end, you can actually set up the steps for them, and they'll be able to go through the app and see exactly what step they're on. It's pretty cool stuff. So this Kelly guide is helping you set all that up right now. Yeah. Yeah, we can change that. Let's go ahead. Again, this is fully customizable. So yeah, we do recommend you consider each step, especially if you are a first-time buyer. Cool, we're good. I'm gonna hit next. All right, so as I mentioned, each buyer and seller guide has a different array of steps. So on the buyer end, you can see here, it starts with starting your search, get pre-approved, tour homes, make an offer, execute contract, home inspections, home insurance, home warranties, and then closing. Wow, that's a lot. So for you, if these are all the steps you take for the buyer side, you're pretty much good to go with all this. But again, you can see here all these steps on the right, you can customize those. So if I want to change the wording, or if I want to even change things like the image that's there, I can go through, I can delete the image, or I can change the image out. You know, if I want to add in additional links to maybe preferred vendors that I work with, movers, you know, lenders, you know, maybe my insurance people like Carnegie Home and Auto. We can add all these into the steps. So you can customize them, again, however you want. Now, you can also do something that's really cool is you can add additional guide steps. So if you want to add steps that aren't already in the guide, you can also do that here where it says add guide step. And that will allow me to add an additional step in there if I need to. Very cool. So once I'm satisfied with my guide, I can then go ahead and just move through this. There's a step on the bottom that says next. And also you'll notice here on the right, there's like these little dots there. That will allow me to rearrange the steps as well. So if I want to move the offer, you know, hypothetically, if I want to move these up or down, I can do that. Yeah. Oh. You should be able to go back. Yeah, it shouldn't save it unless you hit next. Did it? If anything, we can recreate it for you.
Okay.
All right, but we're gonna move through. We're gonna hit next. So then, now that we completed the buyer guide, we're gonna go back to the main screen. Actually, let's go, we'll go here. Sorry, and then we'll go to next. Let's go back real quick, actually. All right, so let's go to setup. So I did my buyer guide. I actually want to do my seller guide as well. So I would follow essentially the same steps. I would hit seller guide, and then that's going to take me to the intro page again. And we can change that where it says selling. We can maybe change it to seller instead. We'll hit next.
And your name?
Yeah. I think, did it have somebody else's name? Yeah, it said Paul. Not Paul. So I'll put in my name. We'll hit next. And then here, again, the steps involved with the seller side, and these can be rearranged or changed however I want, or I can add additional ones if I want. Cool, so I'll hit next. And that's gonna complete the seller guide. I can also add additional guides here, as you can see. Now that will go back into buyers. Okay, so let's go into start. Actually, we already did that. Let's go back to guide, review and enable. Go here. Sellers, next, 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 next. Okay. So the screen after we set up our guides is the smart plan. So now that they added a smart plan into the app, you can actually set up a automated email that would go out to your clients that will promote your consumer app. So you can see here, it already set it up for me. I didn't have to do anything. All I did was go in, and it's going to show me the email that it's going to send out, a preview of it. And then you also notice here that there's two additional steps. There's a texting step a day after, and then 3 days after that, there's another text. So it's, hey, did you see, let's see if I can get an overview of that here. Hey, this is your agent. Did you see this, that your neighbor listed a home in your area? Download my app to check it out. And then it'll have a link over to your app. Now, this is a kind of like a standard text. You don't have to text it like that, but they do give you a little bit of a template there, which is helpful for sure. Same thing with the day 5. They'll have like an additional text here, just kind of as like a reminder. Hey, I sent you an email earlier this week with my app link. Just want to see if you had a chance to check it out or not. And then you can see here, it's already turned on. We didn't have to activate it. And we can go ahead and then add additional people on here if we wanted to. Like I'll add myself here. So I just typed my name. I'll go ahead and pop my name into here, add the smart plan. There's a little button on the right here. And then I hit the contact button. All right, yeah, we'll come back to it. I'll show you another way that you can go in and do that. All right, so it looks like we are set. I'm gonna hit next. So now the last step here is just saying your app is good to go. Here are a few different things you can do. You can share your app with your sphere using the social media, and I'll show you in a later class how you can do that with the social media stuff. Captivate with data-driven video. Again, that's going to be another design materials that you can create to promote your app. And then you have things like crafting your advertising strategy, print materials, Google and Facebook. So those are some other things you can do, like if you want to do like paid advertising around that. And then again, you do have your Connect Live here, so you can always go back later on and watch some of the video clips that they post. And that's good. Let's go ahead and click this X up here. So that would be the setup for the app. Now for your website, which is also connected with your consumer experience, the website setup is essentially the same. if we go again into site and app settings back in our consumer, so we're still in consumer here. If I go into site and app settings and I go learn more with Kelly Guides, one sec. Computer gets slow around this general setting for some reason. So I'm going to go to learn more with Kelly Guides again, and then the option we didn't choose before is the only other one is agent site. And if we hit continue, I went to consumer, and then I went to site and app settings on the right. There's a little button on the right. And then I went to learn more with Kelly Guides. And then when you click that, there's going to be an agent site guide there. Okay, so again, this Kelly Guide, it looks very familiar to the one we did before, except now it's set specifically for the agent site. So it's 3 steps. First step is choosing a subdomain. Second step is theme and styling. And then the third step is page creation. So it lets you kind of build out some pages in here. And if I hit get started, it's going to walk me through the guide again. And it's going to just give me some compliance reminder. I'll hit acknowledge and continue. First step, choosing my subdomain. So here you go. I can choose what subdomain I want to use. I'm currently using just my first initial last name. That's pretty standard. And you can always go back and change this if you want, if you wanted to change that to something else. Once you have one that you're satisfied with, if you hit confirm domain, that's going to allow you to move forward. Yours might already be pre-filled if you've done it before. So if you see it already pre-filled, you can leave it unless you want to change it again. Marketing profile info. So if you recall before, the first thing we did was we filled out our marketing profile. And all the information that I filled out there is already auto-populated here. So things like my name, my office, you know, my team name or professional job title, those are already in here. Bio, etc. So I'm going to scroll through there and just make sure everything looks all right and looks good. I'm going to go ahead and hit save and continue. And this is the second step now. So now it's saying style and theme. Now I know with the style and theme, if you have a custom logo here, you don't have to worry about the style and theming. That's going to be more so for the generic KW logo if you haven't uploaded a logo. So we can leave this whichever color that we like. And then some other things might change as well, like the buttons. But right now, it's essentially going to be static. Homepage text. So right underneath where my search bar is here, or right above it rather, that's the find your home or find your dream home. You can change out that text as well if you wanted to. And then there's also additional, they call them homepage hero images. Those are essentially the slideshow that appears in the background. So you can change those out as well. You can do up to 5. And they do recommend that they be high resolution. So it says 1200 by 1200 pixels. You don't have to remember that, just know it's high res. And you can upload up to 5 at a time. So if I want to delete any of these, I can replace them accordingly. I do quite like the default ones, so I'm going to use those. And I'm going to go ahead and hit save and continue. Now, the third section here is essentially the last section. And that's going to allow me to set up some kind of like pre-created content. So the first page that it lets you do is a company profile. And I've seen agents use this as a way just to kind of pop in a couple testimonials, or you can use it maybe to put in some videos, or if you want to speak a little bit about your services, that could be what you use the company profile for. And from here you can see the first thing that they let you do is the navigation. There's a little drop down there, and I can essentially rearrange this however I want. The second step here is your search engine optimization, or SEO, and that's where you can set up your page title. You can set up your URL slug, which appears on the top. And then for SEO description, that can just be some specific keywords. It could be neighborhoods or areas that you cover. You know, I can put like Fort Lee, New Jersey. I can put Bergen County, real estate, realtor, agent, you know, just a bunch of keywords in there to help with my SEO ranking. And it also gives you a little kind of information bar there too, if you're curious what it is. So once we're satisfied with my SEO, I can then fill out the content here. Again, there's going to be a couple sections in there that I can kind of play around with. For the yeah, the page before. Yeah. So we'll go back. All right, so after this is good to go, I can edit the SEO again, content. Let's just skip this for now. The second page it allows you to set up is your About Me. So this is essentially just like my bio page, a little bit of information about myself. Again, I put some SEO keywords in there. My URL slug, which is this up here. The About Me page title, that would essentially be appearing on the top bar. And then my content, as I already filled out my marketing profile before, a lot of this is already pre-filled for me. My page title, what my actual job title is, bio title, get down to my bio, contact title, contact phone, and then contact email. So these are all things that are essentially auto-populated from my marketing profile. But I can always go back and edit this however I want. One thing to consider though is if you're gonna be making changes to your bio and your marketing profile, you do have to go back into here and edit that, and I'll show you how you can edit that in a later class. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and hit continue. And then the last thing that allows me to set up is my contact, like a lead form. So it's basically like a lead capture form. So again, SEO, I can change my SEO settings. I have my content here that I can also change. So I'm just gonna delete some of this. I don't need the intro paragraph, but I could put a little bit of a blurb there. You know, I can put something like, fill out the form below to be contacted about properties you were interested in. I don't know, just something off the head. Once I'm good to go with that, I can hit save and continue. And then it's gonna activate those pages on my website now. So now you can see here, it brings me to the what's next page, which is essentially the last page of this guide. And it's saying your site will be launched on October 1st, which was last year. So we're not in there anymore. So you don't have to, you can disregard that. Your site is definitely launched. And they do have additional facts here. So you can go into the site facts, go to site settings, and then you can also create additional site pages as well. So as far as like the consumer experience goes, you can see that the site and the consumer app go hand in hand. And I'll just show you real quickly what my site looks like now after we had developed it. So if I go to my website, the website is essentially set up very similar to how it would be on, you know, if I'm on Zillow, for example. So the search engine that KW had built into this was derived primarily from consumer feedback. So they gathered a heap of feedback from clients or customers rather. And what they wanted was some experience that was very similar to how the Zillow experience was. So as you can see, the first thing you see is this large search bar in the middle, right in your face. And I can do a search for our particular neighborhood or my current location, which is geolocation. And then it's going to give me properties all around where I am currently. So in this Fort Lee area here, once it loads, you're going to see a lot of little properties, you know, coming in here. And if I go into just this one here, 58 Beach, this is a Town Life one, so this is actually a KW listing. You can see here it gives me a nice little overview of the photos, the slideshow, very nice. Yeah, it was probably your location settings. I'll have a look at that after. Okay, this is Renee's listing, and you can see here it gives you a nice little description, bed and bathrooms. As this is branded to me as an agent, I can actually click this button as a consumer, and it's going to go directly to me for any sort of information. They can save this. If the client creates an account, whether it be through my app or my website, they can actually create save searches for themselves, which they call collections. Additionally, they can create save searches for a specific filter. And again, they do have some Keller Mortgage, Keller Covered links in here. I do like that they have the ability to bring in commute times, nearby school systems, and I do have any information about open houses, you know, a mortgage calculator in here, very nice. And then any nearby homes. So this gives you some homes in the area. And then again, it's all branded with my info already. Interested, let's talk. Here's my landing page, or my contact form rather, sorry. And good to go. Social links as well, there we go. So that's how it will look from the consumer side. Again, if they create an account, whether it be through my app or through my website, the same login will apply to both. And again, any sort of information, you know, if they're looking at properties through my app or if they're looking at properties through my website, it will be captured in the client's timeline, which is part of my database. So for example, I'm just going to go back to my database real quick. I want to show you. If I go to the home page, and I created myself as a client a couple weeks ago just to kind of play around with this. And I want to show you what it looks like from the client end, or from the agent end, when a client's looking in the consumer app or my website. So you see here today, it actually let me know that this client was viewing a property. We had a guide step completed. You can see here, pre-approved. We got pre-approved. The consumer is already aware of that. You can see when they logged into my website or consumer app. This person was also looking at properties in another state, and I can't remember what state that is off the top of my head, but you can see that. And this guide is just going to kind of give you a little bit of a kind of like an audit of basically all the activity that's been going on. Very cool. So I just wanted to show you that real quickly. All right, any additional questions about the guides or the agent or consumer app? All right, cool. So yeah, I did record this video. You can find it on Facebook. It's also going to be posted on YouTube in a little bit. Any questions you have, you can always reach out to me. Next week, I'll be doing a class very similar to this, probably going into a little bit more detail. And yeah, thanks for coming.